What is going on, everyone? Elliot here from MovieFiles with a fresh out of the theater in my car reaction/review for Gladiator II. Before we get into my thoughts, which will be spoiler-free, by the way, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you a fan of the original? Were you excited for this film? And of course, once you've seen it, what did you like? What did you love? What did you hate? And are you wanting a part 3 of Gladiator? Because apparently there might be one in the works, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So before we get into my thoughts, I'm a fan of Gladiator. Like, I literally just rewatched it before watching the second one, and I would recommend, if you guys have the time, I know it's a 2.5 hour movie, I would recommend watching Gladiator 1 because there are some things that will help boost this story as far as narratively speaking and relationship speaking, but let's get right into it, man. Gladiator 2, people were saying it's one of the greatest action films ever. It's better than the first one. I'm not going to those levels of the hype, but I will say this is a really good film. Like, I think a lot of people will just look at it for its battle sequences, which, by the way, the battle sequences are incredible. I'm going to talk about the story and the performances, but the action is not on par with the first Gladiator. Let me just say that right now, but it is very visceral. It is very bloody. It's very gritty. It's also a spectacle. It's very epic in every sense of the word, especially, again, just comparing 1 to 2, how we open the first Gladiator film and how it just sets the tone. There's an action sequence at the beginning of this film that just sets the tone for the rest of the movie. And all the sequences in the Colosseum were so awesome to watch. Sure, there was some CGI moments with some monkeys that I didn't really care for. There's the sharks that I really care for, but I was just so engrossed with what was going on screen. Action is legit. It's a really, really entertaining. I was entertained.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Narratively speaking, I thought there was some really interesting stuff going on here. Without giving too much away, the idea behind what's driving our main character, Paul Mescal, and what drives him for vengeance and his revenge on what happens to him. But at the same time, from a perspective of where Rome is, right? As you'll see in the film, we have these 2 new emperors, and their whole thing is driving people off of corruption and fear, and it's not the dream that was initially set up in the first Gladiator. So I thought the narrative was pretty interesting and pretty compelling for the most part. I thought the performances were really good, man. I've been a Paul Mescal fan since seeing him in After Sun, and I've seen every single movie since After Sun, and he's always playing the dramatic guy, and he does it really well. But it's the care, it's the compassion, it's the rage, it's the eyes, it's the body mannerisms, it's the speeches. He really carries the leading man. Like, I'm so happy for Paul because I think he is such a great actor with so much versatility to him. I thought he really carried the weight that was given on him. Obviously, he's not to the Maximus level, but again, if you're familiar with the story and who he really is, it really plays into that. I thought Pedro, while he didn't have a lot to do, I thought he made the most out of what he was given, and I really like the twist on what they did with his character because he's a general, but he's a general that has to take rules from the emperors, and I like the connection with Connie Nielsen and Pedro. But let me get this out the way. Let me just say this right now. Denzel Washington is my favorite actor of all time, and he proves that in this film. Not that he needs to prove himself. He's an icon, a living legend, but he is eating up the scenery. Like, think of Joaquin Phoenix's character in the first one times 10. Like, the aspirations, the goals. But the thing I like about his character, without giving too much away, there is a purpose to his madness. There is a point in this film, and not that I'm biased, I was rooting for Denzel. Not because it is Denzel and he has the charm and the charisma, but I like the story they gave Denzel. And you could be like, I understand why he's literally, for my Game of Thrones fans out there, he's literally a Littlefinger in this movie. And I really thought that played well into the narrative. And again, I was rooting for him for a lot of what he was going for when you kind of learn his backstory. So yes, everything you heard about Denzel, and this is coming from a fan, but even taking my fandom away, he is incredible in this movie. I like the direction too from Ridley. Like, I'm a Ridley Scott fan, but let's be honest, y'all. Last 4 or 5 films, roller coaster. And I mean, just recently, Napoleon was not good, but The Last Duel was good, right? But this is one of his better films for sure for me. I thought his direction was, he has a lot of life. He has a lot of life in him, man. You feel the energy, you feel the passion. I really thought that he had the proper amount of care and attention to this narrative, and I really thoroughly enjoyed myself. But I do have some criticisms. I told y'all I literally just got done watching Gladiator 1 for the first time in like a decade. So I went in from 1 into this one. The film relies a lot on an emotional thread from part 1 to part 2. And it's public knowledge, but I don't want to spoil certain things for you all that has been avoiding trailers or avoiding anything. there is a familial story from the first one that ties into the, what's going on with this one. And I don't think the film had enough weight for me to really care for that emotional thread between Connie Nielsen's character and Paul's character and their whole backstory. I feel like there's some holes that could be poked into the logic of the emotional weight that the film wants you to carry from one over to two. I don't think that weight holds that well, in my opinion. And there's also other narrative things from the first one that the second one's trying to, I don't want to say retcon, but again, it plays into the identity of Paul's character, and I don't think it really works for me. And also, there are other, I think Joseph Quinn is fantastic in this film. His brother, Fred, I know his first name's Fred, he's a good actor, but I was not that into what was going on with the Fred character. And again, I like what Joseph Quinn was doing, but their story, I think you could have axed them out and just really made a Denzel story, but I get why they had them in a position that they are. But I don't think from a performance standpoint and a narrative standpoint, they were probably the weaker elements, even though, again, Joseph Quinn, really good. His brother, not so much. And then them as a package is probably, like I said, the weakest element of the film for me personally. Besides, like I mentioned, the emotional depth wasn't as strong as I think the film wanted me to believe it was from 1 into 2. Other than that, man, I thoroughly enjoyed myself with this film. I heard the hype, and then I heard some of the mixed bag, but then again, I always say to myself, go in with my own expectations. And again, I was just I just want to enjoy myself, and I did that plus some. So I do think it's a worthy sequel. For my diehard fans of the first one, it's nowhere near the gravitas, the emotional depth, the character focus is not there with this one. I will be honest with you there, but I didn't need it to be that. I just really enjoyed what we got going. And the question I asked up top, would I be excited for a part 3? I don't know where they would go with a part 3, but apparently Ridley is doing a part 3, or at least he's writing a part 3 as of right now. It won't take 24 years for the next one. I will be down for it, because I think he has more stories to tell in the Colosseum and how things end. So that's my reaction, my review of Gladiator II. If I were to give this on my scale of, out of 5, I'm giving this a solid 4 out of 5, man. And I'm really excited to revisit this film again and maybe look at things a little bit differently and see if the emotional thread is as weak as I think it was. But I recommend you all give it a watch. And when you do, let me know what you thought of it, man. Your pros, your cons, your thoughts, what worked, what didn't work. Again, I don't think this is anywhere close near the first one, but hey, do you prefer the second one of the first one? If you do, there's nothing wrong with that. Personally, I don't, but I thought that at the end of the day, this was a worthy sequel, and I would say that this is worth your price of admission when it comes out this Friday. So that's my thoughts on Gladiator 2, and if you're a Denzel fan, just go see it for Denzel, because my man is doing his damn thing, man. Denzel, you are that dude. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Gladiator 2, 4 out of 5. Thank you all for watching. Consider subscribing, liking this video, sharing this video. I have my Wicked review on the channel now. I have a review coming for the piano lesson, Brutalist, Nickel Boys. I have a bunch of stuff coming for you all, so I hope you're subscribed and you hit that bell notification. You all are awesome. Stay safe, and I'll catch you all on the next video.